Hey guys, Joshua Laycock here. It's a chilly morning, one of my favorite types of mornings, crisp and quiet. Today is going to be a little bit of wisdom from Caleb, although I was made a note to talk about this anyway, but it came up, and of course Caleb nicely sums things up in the way that he does. I have a lot of conversations with people frustrated about this concept of living in alignment with your purpose, your why. What's the point of my being here? And I totally get how frustrating that can be. Life is better, I guess, when you're able to spend it doing the things that you enjoy. It doesn't mean it's easier. It doesn't mean that there are no problems. But it does seem a little bit better when you're spending at least some of your time doing the things that stirs your passions. And one of the massive misconceptions that I think a lot of people make is that your job, the things that you do to pay the bills, have to be in alignment beautifully and perfectly and angelically with your purpose. And while that's okay if you want to try and strive for that, it's laudable. But for most of us, I think most of the people that are watching this probably have a family, people who depend on you, children maybe. It would be reckless to leave your good paying job with benefits and stability and run to the hills and be a painter. As much as that would be lovely. So while striving to have a career that fulfills you on that level is great, and I do think that there's time and a place to focus on that, I do think that one of the most important things that we need to do is to step back and, if only temporarily, disconnect. Living in alignment with your purpose, or satisfying on some level your why, your purpose, your reason for being here on this planet with your job. And that's why a lot of people associate so heavily their personal identity with their job. Hi, I'm Joshua Laycock. I'm an insurance professional. Hi, I'm John Smith. I'm a doctor. Hi, I'm Jane Doe, I'm a lawyer. Like, we just naturally associate with our professions, and that's not always, I think, a good thing. So it's important to recognize that you can fulfill a lot of what you need on the side. You can fulfill it in other ways. I know, I have a good friend of mine who is a teacher, but his purpose, his reason for being on this planet is to be a remarkable father for his children, his brood. He still has a job, he still pays the bills, he still enjoys other passions in life, but he is focused fully, and he is living in alignment with his passions most of the time. And it allows him to be super present with his children when he's not at work or out enjoying some of the other hobbies that he has. And he has lots. But when we think that our passion has to be satisfied with a 9-to-5, that's when I think we run into strife, and we run into pain, and we run into discomfort and frustration. Look, I really enjoy doing these videos. They don't pay me a dime. I coach and mentor a lot of people. It doesn't pay me a dime. It may at some point, but right now that's not my priority. I do that because I enjoy it, because it fulfills me, because it gives me energy, not because it pays the bills. I'm an insurance professional because it pays the bills. Do I have a massive passion for insurance? I don't really. We've talked about this. I do have a significant passion for elements of my job. And that's where I've talked about kind of engineering your job as much as you can to meet some of those needs. You know, I do a lot of mentoring and coaching within my organization, and that gives me a huge amount of joy. But I do think that you have to, on some level, recognize who you are. You have to explore and you have to go after that. You know, I was talking about this the other day, and that's when Caleb said, what do you mean? I said, well, there are some people who want to be something other than what they are. There are people who want to do something or be someone, and their life, for whatever reason, doesn't allow that or has yet to make that available to them. And he looked at me confused, and he said, how can you be anyone other than who you are? You are who you are. Like, he's like, are you putting on a show? Like, are you wearing a mask? He didn't say wearing a mask, but that's what he was kind of getting at. He was confused genuinely by this idea of someone who could live as someone other than who they are. And he's totally right. Because it's exhausting. You're playing a character. Maybe you're wearing a mask. Maybe you're simply repressing or denying something that is so important to you that, you know, you can't function. My stepfather was an incredibly good man. He was a man who liked manual labor. He liked digging ditches and holes and building pools. And, you know, he's the kind of guy who would obsess over mowing the lawn and stacking firewood. And he just got tremendous pleasure from that. And when he met my mom and I had been born, and he knew that he needed to step into that role as a father and as a husband, you know, he decided, and I'm incredibly grateful for it, that he needed to do something that paid the bills more effectively than digging holes. So he decided, hey, I think computers are going to stick, so I'll do computers. And he did. And he made the sacrifice that a man makes for his family. A woman can make those sacrifices too, but he made that sacrifice for his family. But I learned later on that he never enjoyed it. It was so not in alignment with who he was. And ultimately, it caused him a lot of grief. And it caused him a lot of harm, to be completely honest, because I think he was denying so much of who he was. And as time passed and they decided, my mom and my stepfather, they decided that they were going to change their lives and live a little bit more in alignment with who they wanted to be, which was fantastic. He said, to hell with that world. I'm going to go back and dig holes, and I'm going to clean pools, and I'm going to do the kind of things that I was meant to do. And as far as I know, he was happy about that. You know, unfortunately, he passed away, probably 7-8 years ago now. And we never really got a chance to talk about that. But you could see that there was a little bit more happiness in him when he was able to fulfill his purpose. That doesn't mean you have to leave your corporate job or leave whatever job that you have to go dig holes. For me, it's chopping wood. But you sure as hell better spend time digging holes. You sure as hell better spend time chopping wood. You have to allow that true self to come through. Sometimes we have to make those sacrifices for our family, and ideally, there's going to be an opportunity and a time where you've planned enough that you can step away from the have to do and get to move more into the get to do world. And if you can find a way to align your passions, and you know, there's a lot of people that I know that their passions align nicely with a business. And like I said, for me, I'm not going to say it's my passion, but man, do I ever love chopping wood. I haven't done it in a long time because I don't have a fireplace. Sometimes I just want to go get wood and get an axe and just start chopping. But there's a time where you have to just allow yourself to come through. I kind of denied the coaching and the mentoring aspect for a long time for a variety of reasons. Mostly because I think I was fighting the resisting of wanting to be an insurance guy. I didn't want that to be me. That just didn't feel right. But when you allow your true self to come through, unabashedly, unapologetically, not only will you find happiness in those quiet moments where you're, like my wife, sewing, or chopping wood, or digging holes, or coloring, or whatever the hell it is that you really enjoy doing that gives you passion. I think you'll find that will start to naturally bleed over into other areas of your life. And eventually, you will either find happiness elsewhere, knowing that what you're doing 9 to 5 is in service of you becoming something closer to who you're meant to be. Or maybe eventually you do get to dig holes for a living. But I think a lot of strife, a lot of pain in a lot of people's eyes starts with them denying who they are, what they want. In the Iron Council, we're talking about having courageous and authentic conversations, being able to speak assertively and being aware of what we want. And I think this trickles through in all aspects. In your relationships, are you honest with your spouse about what you want out of life? But the person you want to be, the kind of relationship you want to have, the sex you want to have, the vacations you want to go on, the kind of parents you want to be, as opposed to the kind of parents you should be, the kind of relationships you should have, the kind of sex you should have. We deny so much of who we are because of the shoulds and because of society and because of what we're told we should be doing. When we start to allow our true selves to come through, when we start to have the courage to own what we want and who we want to be, and then balancing that with the realities of the world, of there are bills to pay and people to take care of, laws to follow. When you can find that balance, I think that's when you will find happiness. That's when you will evolve. You'll find joy. But you have to know what you want, or at the very least you have to explore and try to figure that out. And then you have to have the courage to step into it. And sometimes that might take looking silly by chopping wood on the front driveway, even though you don't have a fireplace. Or leaving your corporate job when the time is right to go dig holes. Be damned what society says. What do you mean? You were a high-flying corporate guy and now you clean someone else's pool? Yeah, fuck you. I like doing it. But you have to find that. And you have to have the courage to have those conversations. And you have to find the people around you who are willing to accept that. So take that for what it is. I hope that you are on some level living in alignment with who you want to be, or at the very least actively exploring who that person might be. I hope you have a remarkable day. Stay warm and go dig some holes. I'll see you tomorrow.